All right, let's go. Welcome to another episode of eCom Reality, where we talk all things e-commerce, Shopify, DTC, Meta ads, Google ads, email marketing, SMS, whatever it takes to have success in e-com. So, in this one, except the fact that I do have a new cut here, I want us to talk about acquiring customers, because this is something that was very easy back in the day, which means 7 years ago, 8 years ago, honestly, even 3 years ago or 4 years ago after the pandemic, or basically during the pandemic, during that time. So the thing is that over time, things don't become cheaper. We know that, right? CPMs get higher, inflation makes everything more expensive. Very few things actually go down in cost. Sometimes it's software and things where there's a lot of competition, but otherwise it's not like the money that you have now gains any value. That's why real estate always goes up, just because it's limited, and whatever is limited will actually increase in value, while something that's not limited, like money, because it's being printed all the time, this will just lose value, right? It just makes sense. So something really important to consider in e-commerce specifically is that, just like in any other business actually, the ones who are able to spend the most and pay the most to acquire a customer, those will be the ones that win, right? For example, very easy example to understand. So if I give you $50 to buy my $25 product, would you do it? Probably yes, right? So I paid $50 to acquire you as a customer. However, I lost money, right? Because you're just paying me 25. So it doesn't help me. However, I did pay you $50 to buy my $25 product, but I just do it once. And if you like it, you'll come back and you'll buy it again for $25. And again for $25, and again for $25, right? So I did spend $50 to acquire you as a customer, but over time you might pay me $200, $300, right? So this is how you can think when you think about customer acquisition and economics, because you can actually make money if you spend money, but sometimes you actually need to do the math to make sure, am I actually making money if I'm spending money here or not? What's the likelihood, right? Because you have to do the math, and it's not easy. It's not easy because you don't know if that person will buy from you again, right? And you don't know because they have a life, they have other things to do, they might find another thing to buy, they'll look at competitors, right? So all of that. And if you think about all of these variables, of course there's not certainty, you know, it's quite a lot of uncertainty. However, the main thing here is that you don't need to spend a lot of money, right? This is actually one way to do it. You start with a small amount and you try to see if someone actually is interested, if they like what you sell, because if they can come back, that's the biggest thing, right? And the cost to acquire a customer doesn't necessarily go down over time. Only if you have a very, very good product and you can market it maybe organically, you know, and in other ways that doesn't cost you money, but maybe cost you time. But otherwise, like, you have to think about the unit of economics here, because paid ads, for example, right? You won't be getting, let's say, a $20 CAC, a $20 cost to acquire a customer, if you sell them some kind of, let's say, skincare, some kind of skin, let's say there's a cream for aging, right? And usually who buys creams for aging? Well, people over, let's say, 30, 40, 50, 60 specifically. And guess what? Everyone wants that person's money, you know, like they all want them as a customer, because a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, like, they have enough money at this point, you know, most of them should have enough money to spend easily on $50 products, $100 products, you know, like even myself, just because, let's say, I live in Europe and I earn in USD, right? So that might be one reason why I have more disposable income. But basically, if you think about it, that's why I can buy so many things, because I just have that disposable income for, let's say, trying things out, right? And this is very important to know in e-commerce specifically, because if you have a product which you sell just once, you really have to pay attention to what is the cost to acquire the customer. Like you just have one chance. If it's not a low cost to acquire that customer, then you know from the start you're not making money, right? If, for example, I know my product, which is $25, it's pretty bad and someone won't come back to buy it, maybe they don't even need it again, right? It's maybe just a one-time use, or like you buy it once and then you don't need it for years. Then in that case, of course, you need to be very I would say paying a lot of attention basically to your numbers. However, if you sell something such as drink, clothes, let's say skincare, things that people have to buy again and again, right? Then that's when you actually have so much more potential. Because if you get someone as a customer, it doesn't matter if you overpay for them, right? You might pay $50 to get someone to buy your $30 shirt. However, because they'll come back and buy again and again and again and again, you'll actually make a profit. And the beauty here is that once you actually acquire them once, the second time you don't have to pay. At least you don't have to pay with ads, for example. You can pay with email, which is dirt cheap. Like it costs a few cents to send an email to someone who you already have on your email list. So that's an easy way to get the flywheel going. And just like with almost anything in life, once you actually get some success, it's actually easier to have more of it. It's getting a win and then stacking another win on it, and then having a reputation of being a winner, which other people will want to be around you, and so on, right? I was just looking at the cat that's sleeping here. But this is where it really matters to know your numbers. What are you selling something for? How much does it typically cost to get that customer? And are they likely to come back? That's one of the most important questions, I would say, because if they are not likely to come back, I mean, it's a tough business. Even most of the businesses I work with right now, all of them have, let's say, a component of having a way to get returning customers, meaning that they sell some accessories, they sell the same thing, maybe they sell something additional to the main product. They sell something that's consumable, so you need to buy it again and again, just like with food and drinks. And this is very important because that's why some businesses don't have success. They don't have a lifetime value, they don't have a subscription model, they don't have another way to monetize the same customers. And this is actually one of the bigger problems in info, because most people don't know how to create offers and sell again and again and again to the same people, which is not ideal, right? Because you do want to sell as much as possible to your most loyal customers, for example, right? But you actually have to think of it. It's not easy. It doesn't come, let's say, instinctively to you, because the economy is something that we created as humans. So it's not like you're born understanding and knowing exactly what people want, how much they want, and then you need all of the psychology tips, tricks, tactics, whatever you want to call them. Because, for example, quick example, would you rather buy something that's $30 or something that's $30 discounted from $60? So it's basically 50% off, right? And of course, in most cases, most people will actually select the 50% off. And that's because we all like a deal. We feel like we're getting more than what we paid for. And let's not forget, when we work, it's actually we sell our time for money to some extent, right? Depends on the type of work, but almost everyone at one point has this structure, right? Like you have to sell your time for money, even if it's like a consulting call or something like that. That's like very high amount, right? Like let's say $10,000 an hour. You know, like you still have to sell your time, right, for consulting or something like that. So it still costs money, but at least it's a higher amount, and then you can leverage that money, right? Because once you have success, money, customers, right, coming back to e-commerce, it becomes easier. And I would say that's the main takeaway here. Just being aware that you need to think in terms of years, right? Like, are you able to sell to someone again and again and again? If not, like, it's better to actually rethink the strategy just to make your life easier in the future, because many people are trying to win right now, but not in the future. And after all, we still have more years to live than years or days ahead of us, right? Like, in terms of how much we can think further. Most people can't think more than 1 year ahead, right? It's very hard to know exactly what will happen in 1 year, because 1 year alone can change almost everything, depending on what you do, where you go, and so on. So that's pretty much it for this one. Just wanted to go over the economic side, because you just have to be realistic with what's possible and what's not possible with your current, let's say, store or product. So that's how we'll end this. And as always, if you liked it, you can actually leave a like, a comment, and until next time, peace out.